Welcome to the Happy New News with
Coach Mike.
and Coach Luke. Today we're going to be talking to you about nerves and how to help your athlete be successful in a moment where they're trying to process their nerves.
Yeah. Okay, where do we start with this one, Luke?
It is okay to be nervous. And I think communicating that with your athletes and recognizing what they're feeling will help give them confidence to be able to get through whatever it is they're doing.
Yeah.
Long meet, first meet, big race, big event, first event.
Hard race.
First time swimming the 100 fly is nerve wracking. First time doing the 200 fly, the 400 IM, stuff like that. So it's very easy. We are in a space, competitive sports is a very easy place to feel nervous. And so making sure we're equipping our athletes to be able to process that and be successful. First piece of advice. Ready, go.
So I think you nailed it with like nerves are okay. So a lot of times when we feel nervous as an athlete, you can be telling yourself, don't be nervous, don't be nervous, don't be nervous. Or a parent, you could be like, or a coach be like, what are you nervous about? This is just a 50 free. You've done this 100 times. Like, I think the first thing to say is like, oh, nerves are good. Because nerves are good. That's what gives you that extra juice. That's how you're going to do something you could never do at practice because you're in the middle of a competition with some pressure. So we say nerves are good. I think it's the best thing instead of like, don't be nervous, right? Just calm down. Like, that's not really the answer. Now, sometimes the nerves can probably be a little too much where maybe it leads to
some like crippling.
Like immobilization, crippling nerves. So in that situation, you need to find a way to dial it back a little, but we never want to get rid of nerves. Like if a kid has zero nerves going into a meet, it's probably not going to be a great meet, right? And your athlete, the response they'll get from nerves might be like they feel sick. You'll hear them say, I feel sick. Like I'm sick, I can't do this. And I've seen it on both ends where a kid said they're sick and like, unfortunately, like whether I gave them a pass or I've even had parents be like, hey, this swimmer's not going to swim this race, right? And then they don't swim that race. And then as soon as that race is off the table, they're not sick anymore, magically. And the same vice versa. I've had athletes come up to me and be like, I feel so sick before a race. And then they go swim that race. And afterwards, they're like, I feel great. I feel great. So that's going to be a common response you're going to hear. I think a big thing about nerves is making sure no matter what you're feeling in your nerves that you stick to your plan. You stick to your ritual. So Coach Luke, like what's some of the rituals you teach your athletes? Because especially at 12 and under, we give them the ritual. Like they haven't developed their pre-race plan, that sort of thing. So like what's the ritual for an athlete?
Series.
Jump and jack series.
Breathing techniques.
Whoops. Yeah. Talking to your coach before the race. It could be a little bit of swimming. As kids get older, they start developing their own rituals. It might be like 5 minutes on their own away from their friends. It might be 5 minutes with their friends. It might be a playlist of like 3 songs they listen to. It could even be like some affirmations. Like I love watching elite athletes, especially like at the Olympics, like when they're about to run. And you see them behind the blocks in swimming and in track and all that stuff. And you just see their mouths moving to themselves. And I promise you, they're not telling themselves, don't be nervous or you suck at turns. You know what I mean? Like they're saying a lot of times these people have worked with like sports psychologists. And it's a positive affirmation or a trigger for yourself. And it could be like, you're the best, you got this, or let's race, or whatever that saying could be for your swimmer, or like believe. It could be like one word, but replacing it with that ritual. And you as the parent, you are a part of that ritual. And maybe it doesn't have to
be...
For
a while, I don't think that's necessarily true for the athletic career of the athlete.
Yeah. But especially while you're driving, like you're a big part of that ritual because you're going to have to be up early enough, right? So...
Making that ritual sustainable for them.
Making that ritual, like, are you going to have breakfast for them? Are you going to do breakfast? That's on the parents, right? It could be the athlete, but also like, are you the parent also super nervous and like bleeding off that energy? Because the kids can feel it. Like when you're nervous.
I mean, I get nervous for the kids.
I get nervous too.
And as coaches, so nervous when my kids race.
Yeah, whenever a kid's like, when I'm really nervous, I like to be around you, Coach Mike, because you're so calm. And in my head, I'm like, I am freaking out.
Yeah, if you see me like with my hands on my knees, I'm like,
Yeah, I try not to show my nerves until the kid's already like about to race. Like they can't look at me, and I'm just like, if you see me, if you see me with my heat sheet in my face and I'm like covering my
Yeah.
mouth and I'm like this,
I pace a lot.
that's my like nerves. But
Yeah.
we get nervous and parents get nervous. Like it's all good. I think it's our job to make sure we don't make it worse. Like,
I have to say this. I was so nervous at tags.
oh yeah,
And
I
Gus was I think Gus was recording the 200 back for Levi, and he would not stop talking.
Sounds like Gus.
Yeah, and so the whole 200 back, anybody who was there, like, it was a very nerve-wracking race to watch.
Yeah.
And Gus was like just going, and he's just going like stroke for stroke. I was like,
oh, he's gonna get caught.
I told him, like, Gus, I really need you to be quiet right now. I really need you to be quiet.
Yeah.
It was just funny. And then afterwards, he was laughing at me.
I will tell you, like me, when I was nervous as a swimmer, I would not like to be touched. Not that everybody's touchy, but there's some teammates that are like this, like,
Yeah,
you got this,
the
man.
back slapping.
The backs. Yeah, when I see them doing that to each other, like, I would be the guy who'd be like, stop. Even when somebody puts their hand on my shoulder, I'm just like, yeah, dude, how's it going? Like, I grab their hand and put it down. Like, I don't like to be touched.
Yeah. When when I was an athlete, I had the crippling nerves. And so, like, working through that, going to my parents wasn't going to help. Like, my mom was like, oh my gosh, this is going to be so good. And I'm like, I don't know. This is going to be kind of rough. Like, I'm so excited to watch you swim. That was so great. I didn't swim yet. Oh, so going to my parents didn't help. But as a coach, like, giving them routine. So making sure it's something that they can do, even if I'm not there. Like, if I get called into a coach's meeting, or if I go to the restroom and they are getting ready for their race, like, coaches need bathroom breaks too, right?
Mm-hmm.
The athlete, like, I don't want them waiting for me outside the coach's restrooms. Go and do your jumping jacks or your woots or your jump ropes. Like, PJ used to jump rope a little bit sometimes.
Yeah.
Like, different things, so that they will still be successful in my absence, right? And it's something they can take with them, whether you take them to a meet, whether Legend takes them to a meet, Jenna takes them to a meet. They already know what
They're ready
works
to
for
go.
them.
Yeah. I think another thing is, like, don't let them off the hook. When kids are nervous, it can be like there's this stress that's there between parents and coaches sometimes.
So, like, don't save your kids.
Don't save them. Like, if they're really nervous about a race that they're going to do really bad, maybe they might do really bad. But we have to let them experience that. Because if we let them off the hook, we're just postponing something. They're going to feel that feeling. And we really want them to feel that as young as possible, so that as they get further into their career, that feeling feels normal.
Well, and, like, if you create a perfect scenario, and you said this a little bit earlier, like, whether you make the records and stuff, like, always try to include the athlete in the process. Because again, that's something that's, like, transitional, and that ownership can be passed on to them as they continue to develop. And so, whether it's their nutrition, like, that is preparedness, right? Proper nutrition is just important as strength and conditioning. Just proper, right? So the more that they can take control of that or ownership of that, the better off they're going to be long term, because they're going to know they're ready.
Like packing their own snacks, making sure their water bottle has water, that sort of thing. And
if parent or coach only create a perfect environment for them, then it's like a sense of false hope, and that is like the weakest foundation that they could stand on. Because the moment one thing goes wrong, then the whole list or the whole routine gets, like, it just all crumbles.
And I think that's the next point. Like, there's no perfect. Like, you can have your perfect scenario, but, like, your cap's going to rip. You're going to lose your goggles. Like, things are going to happen, right? So you can mitigate some of that stuff, but sometimes, man, things just happen. And that's all there is to it. So it's also, like, making sure your kid is not crippled by the perfectionism of having the perfect everything going into a meet. So as the parent, as the coach, being a little more, you can be more lackadaisical about things, or just be more like, hey, whatever happens, win, lose, fast, slow.
Yeah, and I think a lot of times, like, we do it to try and, like, lower the stress levels on the athlete, right? But, like, at the same time, the stress levels, they trigger a fight or flight, right? So where the adrenaline and the nerves can be crippling, at the same time, it can be very beneficial to performance factors. So, like, channeling their energy is probably the best success you can give, or best chance at success that you can give your athletes.
Yeah, and I love when an athlete gets in like I have nothing left to lose mindset, because a lot of times they have like their best
Yeah.
race. Like I love when an athlete thinks they got DQ'd on a race. Sometimes, like say they think they false started, they go into that race like knowing that, and then they swim great because they stopped like thinking about all this other stuff. They're
Yeah.
like, well, whatever, let's just go.
We'll see what they
So,
tell me.
but if you're constantly thinking about 50 different things going into it, you're not going to help the nerves.
Mm-mm.
You're going to make it worse.
Mhm.
I think the last thing is like make it light. Like
Mhm.
our job as parents and coaches is like these athletes feel pressure on their own. Without us, they feel pressure. They want to win. They want to go best time. They are scared of that race.
Yep.
But us, we can make it light, right? So like something Coach Luke did that's a lot of fun with his younger athletes. It's like, hey, if you do this, I'll buy you a car. And it's just like, it's just a mental shift on something kind of silly, something different. There's some athletes out there that he owes 10 cars to. So, and maybe one day Luke will actually deliver on that promise. But you can make it light. If you are a funny parent, like my kids think I'm hilarious. Like there's a way you could think it's funny, or just shift it for them. Like say your kid's nervous about 100 fly, you should tell them, hey, don't worry about it. When you dive in, just do freestyle and then just win. It'll be fun. Like just swim freestyle and it'll be fun. And they'll immediately be like, oh,
Yeah,
I would
like
never.
Yeah, because like I could think of Emily Phillips. If she's standing behind the block waiting for a 400 AM or something, at 10 where I would have promised her a car, and she would be like, oh my gosh, that would be so cool if Coach Luke bought me a car. Now, if I'd be like, hey Emily, if you win your race or you do whatever, I'll buy you a car, she would instantly just chuckle and
Yeah.
shake her head, and you just broke the mood.
Exactly. Yes.
She just
break
she
the
just, like-
tension. So
Yeah.
that's what we're saying. Like we know the tension's there. So our job as the coach and the parents, like we don't want to add to that tension, and like us talking about like coaches and parents get nervous too.
Yeah.
But it's not, we don't need to put our nerves onto them. And we're not, whether a kid swims great or swims poorly, it's on them. It's not on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like of course coaches, we carry it a bit.
And
But-
kids are pleasers. They're gonna they come to us like almost for some expectation at the same time. And so it's like one of the things I've been practicing with the kids, instead of telling the kids I'm so proud of them, when they come up to me, I tell them you should be proud of that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
then
yeah.
to give the confidence, to give
Yes.
you know what I mean, ownership, stuff like that.
And I think the last thing we can do, I already said last thing, but this is for real the last thing, is not just breaking the mood or switching it. It's like make it fun. You know, competition is fun. And once you get to a meet, just logically, this is where you're at. No magic breakfast or no magic drills you do in warm up is gonna like
No,
give
right.
you that new thing. Like you're ready to go. This is it. So as the parents and coaches, we can make sure it's fun, that they're going to get a good job at the end of the race, right? They're not going to get a lecture from me if they have a bad race. Like I'll never lecture a kid at a swim meet because there's no point. And
Yeah.
I just add pressure for their next race. That if they, in the back of their mind, they're like, if I swim bad, this person's going to be disappointed.
Yeah.
Like what you said about pleasing people, like these kids do want to make their coaches and parents happy, maybe until they get a little older. But when we put that extra pressure on them after a race, it makes the next time worse.
Yeah, like they don't want to do bad for themselves. They especially don't want to do bad for somebody else.
Yeah. So,
And if you look across our team, I think that we, at swim meets, our 12 and unders are significantly less nervous than other kids on other teams.
yeah, like you can tell when that pressure's too much when you have a bunch of kids crying on the pool deck,
Yeah.
right, before a race. That's when you know something is too much. We cross that threshold of like too nervous,
Yep.
right? So, anyways, hope this helps. Nerves are a real thing. Everybody's going to be nervous, and then the bigger the meet, the bigger the nerves usually. So, thank you guys for being part of our team, and we'd love to see your comments if you got any. Thanks.